Hey guys, so today I wanted to do a video talking about love, sex, and relationships, kind of everything that encompasses that. I really enjoy this. I find it very fascinating to discuss. I love reading the comments and the feedback from you all, sharing your own personal experiences and thoughts. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. As always, if you want to ask me a question about love, sex, dating, or you just want to hang out in the Los Angeles area, I love meeting girls that are really like-minded like myself, and I'm always available on Instagram for you guys. I'll have it all linked below. So the first question I got is about dealing with other girls interfering in your relationship. Now this is quite a question because there is so much to unpack from this question. First of all, I will say, as women, we have an intuition. So on the one hand, obviously if you're in a relationship, it's very, to me at least, clear where those boundaries are with other females. Girls kind of get a bad rap about, being like a jealous girlfriend or something, or overthinking something, but at the same time, I'm sure we've all been there, having some sort of feeling or hunch about someone that then we find out down the line has been involved in our relationship, or, even it gets a lot more tricky when you're not in a relationship. When you're just casually dating someone or seeing someone or getting to know them, there isn't that label and that boundary there about how you deal with other people interfering. And just watch The Bachelorette, honestly, The Bachelor. I am someone that supports women. I totally think that girls should be able to do whatever they want, and I love other girls. I always want to cheer them on and kind of celebrate for them. I know how competitive girls can be when it comes to men, and I think that guys in dating and relationships and sex and all that kind of stuff can bring out a really bad side of females. Just honestly, in my experience, a lot of issues I've had in the past with girls have always been around guys. That seems to be what pulls out a really catty, very mean-spirited nature in women, and it probably is biological, but I definitely think there is something there to be noted. So as far as dealing with girls interfering in a relationship, number one, your partner that you're in a relationship with has a duty to be the one enforcing that. You, of course, can't police and make sure you're watching to see any girls that are involved maybe in your relationship when you're not around. I love a quote, and it says something to the effect of, "Who you are is who you are when I'm not around." And that is something that I think is very true. I think, obviously if your partner cannot be a good representation of your relationship and the love and the respect that they have for you when you're not there, that alone is not a good person for you to be with, and that's not someone that you should want to be with at all. And, on the whole idea of, if girls know that you're in a relationship and they're still inserting themselves, they're still being very aggressive and being very forward, which, trust me, I've seen girls, send unsolicited Snapchats or DMs or, just interesting stuff that, doesn't read well. And it can be a definite problem. There can be issues that arise from that. I used to be the type that would want to be really nice and kind of appeal to these women, but I've also found over the years that you need to hold your ground a bit, and you also just need to think of how you want to be treated. Obviously, when you're in a relationship, do you want random girls hanging around and involving themselves? Obviously not, so you shouldn't do that to others. But in the same regard, in a lot of circumstances, I think it takes a very crazy person to continue to be around and in a situation when they're not getting a response. So a lot of times, even if your significant other is saying they're not entertaining these people, maybe they are, because like I said, while it's not impossible, because there definitely are girls that will, continue to involve themselves even if they are being ignored. For the most part, there probably is some sort of emotional exchange going on, just because it's not completely natural to continue to bother someone when they are denying you. In that same regard, I think there are a lot of girls that are attracted to guys in relationships for whatever that is. Again, I think maybe a competitive psychological aspect comes into play of thinking you can steal this guy away or you can do something like that. And, that is kind of something that mentally they need to deal with, because that's definitely a problem. Obviously, in your life, you cannot think that you're going to have healthy, happy relationships if you only ever want someone that's taken. That's not correct, and that's something they definitely need to address. And on the topic of girls being involved in your relationship, I'm going to take this question into a different realm that I'm not sure if the viewer was asking this, but I do think that there's something very interesting and something said to be about what you share with other females about your relationship. Now, I am someone who, I talk a lot about my life online, but I actually am a very private person when it comes to my own personal matters, and that's that's because, you know, through the years, I've gone through different experiences where I've shared personal stuff with someone who then went behind my back and told the person I was speaking about or the situation I was going through. And I think it's a very blunt, sad truth, but it's honestly something to be mindful of, that a lot of people don't actually care. They are just curious and they like to have the know, the gossip, the insights, and that's something to be kind of mindful of. So as a female, I think it's good to be able to express your emotions, be able to think about situations you're in or how you're feeling in certain relationships or situations or people you're dating. But I also do think it's very important to remember that everyone that you're sharing this information with may not have your best intentions at heart, and that's very difficult, but it is a blunt, harsh reality that I think women need to understand. Now on the next question, I got a question about what I look for in someone that I want to date, someone that I want to take seriously, be romantically involved with. And this is such like an open-ended question because there's so much. There are so many attributes and important things that I think really make a wonderful person that is worth getting to know and worth putting your time and effort into. But I think at the very core of it, it's vulnerability. I think the ability to express when times are hard or when things are difficult for you, or different viewpoints and ideas that you have that maybe are not the easiest to talk about, is what really creates that strong bond to where you want to get to know this person and you really care and love for them. And something I've been thinking about recently is that everyone seems to fade. At least I know that in the dating scene, when you're going out and you're meeting new people, it is so fun and exciting, but at the same time, it's so easy to kind of, you know, be interested in someone for a little bit of time and then kind of have that feeling fade away. And I've been kind of studying why this is, and I think I figured it out. I think the idea behind why some people fade, and there are some people that stick in your mind for years and years and years, and I know personally that I have some special people that I have thought very highly of for years, and I think I always will think of them that way. And then there are some people that, you know, maybe off the bat I really liked, I really thought we vibed well together, but they kind of just faded out. Like there wasn't any reason there to continue or anything really drawing you to them. And I think what it is the lack of vulnerability. I think if someone is not able to really open up on that deep level with you, of course you are not going to mentally be connected. And while you can be physically attracted, you can have fun with them, you can enjoy this person as a person, that mental connection is grown through vulnerability and through being really open and really just kind of humble to the core of really explaining how you feel. And you know, things that are difficult to talk about are often the most important, and that is human connection. As humans, we want to connect, we want to have those deep, intimate moments with people, and it's so interesting that in this day and age, it's been really difficult to do that. I think with social media, we're even more disconnected than ever. It's very informal to be texting, even FaceTiming over actually meeting in person. While I do think it's a step up from texting, it still is not that deep, emotional, intimate connection that I think we need to have long-lasting, really healthy relationships. There's another quote that I really love that's from a movie that says something to the effect of, you meet thousands of people and none of them really touch you, and then suddenly you meet one person and your life is changed forever. Now I do think that there's something very deep to kind of pull around from that, and I think it's the idea of when you meet someone that is very authentically themselves, they're not worried about being vulnerable, they're able to be open and really connect with you, that's when someone really connects and where you feel that bond that maybe you don't feel with all these other people passing by. And on that same note, I want to say that I think vulnerability is very sexy. Another relationship question that I was asked quite a lot was how to feel comfortable with speaking your mind and being open about your feelings in a world that we live in when so many people are very guarded and people like to be chill and act like they don't really care, they're not that interested, to kind of play that game of dating, which it can seem in a lot of ways like that is the way to go. I know that a lot of times when you are casually dating, you don't want to come on too strong, you don't necessarily want to express all of your interests up front, but I definitely think that it's important to be open about the way that you're feeling, and if you're comfortable with certain things, if you don't like certain things. Honestly, at the end of the day, all we have is time, and we can never get that time back. And I feel like to waste your time with the wrong people, or you know, thinking someone is a certain way and maybe they aren't, like I just feel like at the end of the day, if the worst thing that you do is that you're very upfront about, you know, really caring about someone or liking them or wanting to get to know them, like that should not be negative. And if anything, that should be celebrated, and that should set you apart from other people that are unable to communicate how they feel or, you know, what's going on with them. And I think it's very unattractive when people cannot deeply communicate how they feel, I think it definitely is a sign of being very comfortable and confident in yourself when you're able to express the things that you think and the things that you feel. And that is just like the basic human condition, that we talk about our feelings and we talk about what's going on with us. And I think we need to kind of work as a group to kind of make that more normal in dating and make that more of something that we celebrate when people are able to be open and honest with us. Because at the end of the day, I think everyone wants honesty, but a lot of people don't practice honesty, and they don't practice explaining things when it's difficult, or maybe answering tough questions, or just being very vulnerable about how they feel and what's going on. And I think the more that we do that, just the better it's going to be for everyone. The next question I wanted to address was about if I think that feelings can grow over time. If you are friends with someone and maybe you develop feelings for them, could that be possible to work out for you? Could that be something that could go on? And I feel like there has been a lot of kind of research done about this, that men obviously are very visual creatures, and they're very immediate in the way that they kind of fall in love or kind of gain interest in people. And while it definitely can happen, I think feelings can evolve and grow over time, and you can learn to fall in love with someone. You can, learn more about them and choose that you somehow see some connection there. I think as women, that's definitely more the way that we operate. I think as we get to know someone deeper, we create that bond and that connection, and that kind of kickstarts that falling in love aspect. But I do think for men, it definitely is a lot more quick, and they kind of know or they don't know. And I also have to say, on that same topic though, I think there is something to be said for taking it really, really slow. And this is something I've learned over the years, and I really think is valuable information. Obviously, it's the human condition that as we get to know people, people are flawed. No one is perfect. Everyone has good and bads, pros and cons. And as you get to know someone and you love them through that, that's natural. Of course, when you do fall in love with someone and you accept them as they are, there are going to be things that you're not going to like and things that you have to compromise on and work through. And it's not to say that as you get to know someone, you should choose not to be with them because they have some issues going on or there's something there that maybe you don't fully agree with. But I do have to say that as I have gotten to know people more deeply, I have really seen their true colors, and I've been able to decide if they were right or wrong for me. And I think that it can be so enjoyable and fun to fall in love, to have all those feelings, those emotions, that rush, that I think a lot of people do rush into things and then find themselves discovering that maybe the person that they are with was not what they were expecting, what they were wanting, or what they truly need. So I definitely think that while it can be so enjoyable to have that kind of whirlwind romance and have everything be really fast and passionate and intense, I do think sometimes it can lead you to the wrong people. And if you were able to kind of look back a bit and kind of in hindsight to see kind of a slower progression of a relationship, I think it's a lot easier to see the warning signs and the flags that maybe you should pay attention to, and that maybe show that this person isn't necessarily the best version for you. I do also have to say that anyone who has remained important in my life, as I go back to kind of the fading mentality and that whole idea, they have never faded and they have never gone away. So I don't regret going slower with them, because over time, if anything, they have just proved to be more special, more important, and more likely the people that I want to spend my time on. And I've kind of realized that a lot of people that I've rushed into things with, or maybe have gotten, kind of that intensity with, a lot of times maybe there was an underlying sense of urgency there because it wasn't the right person, and because you were kind of trying to force some sort of connection that maybe wasn't truly there, or some sort of situation that maybe shouldn't progress. And I think it's really important and valuable to kind of look back on past relationships, past experiences, past people you've dated, people that you've gotten to know, and kind of examine those patterns and see if that is something that falls into place for you. And to also just know that there is nothing wrong with taking it very slow with really getting to deeply know someone. And in my experience, the people that are right for you, the people that you're supposed to be with, and the people that are really special, it doesn't matter if it takes a little bit of time, because they're still going to be there. And if anything, they still remain very special and very standout, opposed to all these other people that maybe were kind of a more intense rush with, and that, once you actually got over those kind of exciting feelings and that whole rush of everything, weren't really the right people to begin with. The next question is about trusting your gut feeling in a relationship while dating, sex, all that kind of stuff. So I have to say that I'm someone who is very cautious. I definitely am very careful. I definitely overthink things a lot. I get called an overthinker all the time, and I can have a hard time making decisions just because I do go through all the different aspects and all the different scenarios that could play out and things that could happen. And something that I read a while ago that I think is very, very true is talking about your intuition. And I think our intuition as people, of course, can be very finely tuned, but especially as women, I feel like we just have this intuition that I have seen be very correct in a lot of different situations. And I think the difference of having an intuition and having anxiety and overthinking, it's very, very hard to decipher between the two, but something that I did read and something that I think is helpful for me to understand when maybe I'm overthinking or I'm having anxiety over something or I'm just worrying over a situation that maybe I'm making into a bigger deal than it really is, or I'm snowballing it to something that maybe isn't completely accurate, is that your intuition is soft and gentle, and it's that little voice in the back of your head, that feeling that you have that isn't threatening or intimidating. It's just very much there, but it's not loud. It's not trying to be the forefront of your thoughts. And anxiety and overthinking is very much intense, very loud, and very heavy. And when you kind of are able to separate those two, I think it makes a lot of sense. If you are someone who is a bit more cautious and nervous in situations, that thought of, all these things could go wrong, all the things are happening, whatever, that always is a very deep, just heavy feeling. And then in the back of your mind, you feel that soft intuition of something is off, something doesn't feel right, maybe pay attention to that. And that oftentimes is your intuition speaking, and that's kind of what you should learn to lead more into, because that's not just anxiety, that actually is kind of your sense that you have through all of your emotions and through all of your experiences that you've kind of added together to get that sense of intuition when you need it. So just something kind of cool, I thought, and something that you guys can maybe practice and learn and think if that really applies to you. And the last question I wanted to answer is about how important sex is in a relationship. Now, this is something really interesting because, of course, in a deep romantic relationship, being intimate and having sex and enjoying your partner and, finding them physically attractive and all of that, that sexual chemistry is incredibly important, but sexual chemistry is not compatibility. You can have sexual chemistry with someone and not be compatible. And a lot of times people know that and they're okay with that. And that is why people have, friends with benefit situations or very, very casual dating situations where a lot of it revolves around maybe being intimate or physical, and there's not a lot of emotion there, and there's not a lot of talking, getting to know each other, anything deeper, and people are perfectly okay with that because they know if they were to go down that route, it wouldn't really work out. Maybe they can tell that they're not really compatible with this person, but they are just really physically attracted to them. Lust can be a very interesting feeling. You can definitely have lust for someone and make that into kind of more than it is. You can kind of force yourself to think that you have that compatibility that is needed to actually have a healthy, strong relationship. And at the end of the day, lust can never turn into compatibility. If you just don't have that with someone, no matter how much you force it, while maybe you would be able to be in a relationship for an extended period of time, eventually it's going to come to the surface that you aren't really compatible in anything other than sexually, which can't really be a fully fledged relationship. At least I would think once you want a relationship, you want more out of it than just that sexual component, because I do think it's important, but it's not everything, and it definitely cannot create compatibility. And I think that's something really important to kind of think about as women and as girls. I think growing up in the culture where I think people are very open about sexuality and it's very not taboo, it's easy to talk about, people are definitely very involved, and I think more than ever the hookup culture is something that is definitely different in our day and age and in our whole dating sphere and all that. And I think I get a lot of messages from girls telling me that they like this guy, they want it to go somewhere, so they decide that they're gonna, have sex with him, or they're gonna try to win him over with that connection, because they say, when we're together, he's all over me, I know he really wants me, he always talks about it, whatever. And they think that somehow that intense sexual connection is going to transfer into a romantic, emotional connection. And I think as you get older, you realize that that's really not the case. There is no way to have that, and it's possible to have that sexual chemistry with someone and not have that compatibility, and that really sucks. But at the end of the day, it is something that once you realize it and you learn it, you can take into your arsenal of dating and you can use it to your next situation. Now, a really interesting practice that you can do when you are dating someone or getting to know them, if you happen to be very physically attracted to them, which I hope you are, I hope that you are trying to date people that you find attractive and that you're interested in and you have that, desire for, something that you can do is to hold off on the sexual sex stuff, because it is very common to get kind of caught up in those feelings and those emotions that come with being intimate and being sexual, especially if you don't have a lot of connection and emotional connection there. Even in your life, if you don't have a lot of deep conversations with people, you don't get very vulnerable, you don't really open up, then having a very intimate sexual experience with someone can make you feel like you are emotionally connected to them. That's very, very possible, and it's very easy to kind of fall into that and to think that because you are having that sort of situation with someone that you guys actually have that compatibility and that really strong connection when maybe you don't. So a way to kind of weed that out and kind of decide if maybe this person is right or wrong is to remove that stuff just for a little bit and get to know them and see if you like them as a person, and if you really truly want to get to know them and you're enjoying getting to know them without all that other stuff kind of clouding your judgment. Because if you throw that in too early, you definitely can get involved with people that maybe once you get to know them and once all of the, fun, intimate stuff is over, you don't really like them as a person, and that's a lot more messy than if you did it the other way around. So that's it for my love, sex, and dating relationships video. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I would love to hear all of your thoughts, comments, and I guess personal experiences below. Let me know if you'd like me to do another video like this, and I'll see you all later. Bye!